Hi guys, welcome to another session on Crafty Type. My name's Leon. Sorry for the delay. I was putting the final touches to our session today. Pressed go live on one of the software packages we use, and waffled away for 5-10 minutes and realised I wasn't online. Thank God for Hatham for coming in to let me know, because otherwise I could have done an entire session thinking that I was streaming and I wasn't. So there's me being a bit silly today, but there you go. Right, so session 3. We're on session 3 now of Crafty Type. What is Crafty Type? So Crafty Type is a series, a typography series where it explores me as a learner, exploring the different ways we can create typography, the rules that the professionals follow, and looking at some of the ways that we can design and develop our own fonts and type. Okay, so that's what the whole series is about. It's about creating your own fonts basically, and there's some really quick and easy ways to do it, and there's some really technical ways to do it, and there's lots and lots of things in between. Okay, and this series is about me exploring some of those, cherry picking some of the things that I think might be useful for you guys, and it also follows my journey, my learning journey, in terms of what I prefer, how I prefer to learn as a visual learner. That's one of the visual, and quite an impatient learner as well. So so some of the technical things I kind of leave to one side and try and go to a method that kind of really visualizes what I want to do straight away. Okay, so though I'll be presenting different methods of creating your own typography, and today's session we are going to look at the anatomy of typography. We're going to look at a really cool thing that I found this week, which was a website. Sorry, I'll just quickly show you this quickly. Just a little quick overview, a little sneaky peek. This was it, Pattern Monster. I found this when I was doing a bit of research this week, where it was a pattern generating website where so I thought, how can we use this in the process of designing our typography? So I created a new font based on one of the patterns that I created from here. Very easy to use, and this is free to use as well, all online. So we're going to look at how I've done that. What else do we have to look forward to today? So we have a really cool video that I would like to show you, and I'll show you that in just a sec. But basically, this video, the creative in this YouTube video highlights 10 key things to consider when designing your own typography. Okay, and I'm going to pick out some of those 10 points, and I'm going to apply them to a layout, to a blank layout, and modify them as he goes along, and hopefully demonstrate live how we can improve our layouts and typographical layouts with some of these principles in place. Okay, as always guys, we've got the boring stuff at the beginning. So I'm your tutor Leon. If you need to contact me, please do so. There's my email address there, leon@mediasavvycic.co.uk. We have an enrollment form that we just rolled out a few weeks ago. This is really key, guys, for us to kind of track our learners and the people who enroll in our courses, and we use this for our funders who who are the National Lottery. Okay, so it's a really simple form. We've developed it so it's online and it's easy for you guys to fill in. Previously we had a downloadable PDF which it served the purpose, but we've improved that process, and we've put it online so it's easy for you guys to fill in. Okay, so please do that. What else have we got? And then we've got our end of session survey, which again is online. It's just a brief survey to see what your thoughts were about today's session. Okay, and we really value your feedback, and we use that to develop our sessions moving forward. Okay, so that's the two beginner bits. Okay, where are we on the course? Okay, so at the beginning of the course we had a little taster, and the little taster explored a very brief overview of typography and how to create your own font. And in the taster we created our own font, which is Typography, and this is the very beginning sketches of that font. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit more on that today, because we're going to modify that a little bit more and improve that based on some of the principles that I've picked up over the last few weeks. But that's today's session. The session before that, session 2, which was last week, I showed you some really cool ways of creating your fonts. Very easy as well. Session 1, I showed you another way of creating some fonts, and that was a bit more of a technical way, but a bit more robust as well. But today's session we're going to look at the video first of all, looking at these principles, and then we're going to apply those to some layout. Okay, so I'm gonna jump aboard this really cool video, and then we're gonna see where that takes us. Okay, so strap yourselves in.
Hey everybody, Gleb Alexandrov here for CreativeShrimp.com. Welcome to the typography tutorial. Typography is everywhere. Whenever you create a thumbnail for your YouTube video or design, feel free to subscribe to our channel or something to Instagram. By learning the basic typography rules, you make sure that you can convey the message in the most effective way. And well, typography is sexy, so let's explore 10 typography tips and best practices. Let's start with a visual hierarchy. This block of text is readable, it serves its purpose, but the visual impact of this block of text would be much stronger if it had a stronger hierarchy. Just by resizing the elements and giving the emphasis to a visual hierarchy in this case, you make the message easier to get at the glance. Just ask yourself what part of the message should really pop. In what order do I want this to be read? How can I make this easier for the reader? This is a hierarchy, and the next rule is don't use two similar fonts. In this example,
okay, so we're going to look at visual hierarchy first, and I've used a similar method in an activity that we done a few weeks ago, so we're going to use a similar method today. Okay, so this is the block of text that I'm going to use. It's Don't Worry, Be Happy lyrics. It's one of my favorite songs, so I'm going to use that to demonstrate Alexandra's first tip, which is hierarchy. Okay, I'm just going to move that to one side because that's to demonstrate white space as well. So I'm going to just delete that. What I'm using at the minute, guys, is Illustrator. You might have used it in the past. It's very great. It's very good graphical design tool. One of the industry standards, but there's also Inkscape, which is a free graphic design program as well. Okay, you can do this in a number of other methods. Another method that you can maybe look at using, which I find incredibly useful as well for really instant, quick graphic design, is although you are quite limited, is this online service, which is by Google, and this is called Google Slides. So within Google Slides. Just a quick, if you're not familiar with it, let me show you something quickly. You can have a blank document here, and if you're doing graphical layouts, Google Slides quite cool with that, because what you can do is you've got a text button here, you've got your slides, and this isn't a session on Google Slides, but I'm just going to show you very quickly how you can apply your text layouts. So you can create a text box there. That's the lyric title. I'm just going to copy and paste the rest of the text in there. And I'll tell you what, why don't I do this at the same time? I'll do one side by side, okay? Just so you can see two different methods. Because what I don't like to do, I like to show you the industry standard, but I also want to show you a way that if you don't have the industry standard software, which not a lot of people do, I like to show you the a more accessible way, okay? So let's do it side by side. As always, people who tune in, you'll see me go on the fly a lot of the time, because sometimes you just got to adapt and kind of roll with it, okay? So what I try and do is I try and wing it a little bit and try and go with the sessions the way I think is best for you guys, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply graphic design hierarchy to this lump of text, and then I'll go and do it in Google Slides as well, okay? So at the minute we have this big lump of text, which is great and you can read it, okay? But visual hierarchy is all about making the important bits of the text stand out, okay? So let's have a quick Google while I'm in here. Graphic this is where my spelling comes into play. Is that right? I before E except after C. So here's some kind of images to kind of demonstrate that, okay? Graphic design 5 hierarchy principles of graphic design. That's a nice video there. I'm not going to click on any of the video or anything, but just to get an idea where you've got big bold text and then you've got like the text afterwards. You've got other text which has like the secondary information. So a U there stands out, okay? Before, after, hierarchy stands out even though it's in a lighter font because it's bigger. So things like that, that's the kind of methods that people use, okay? So we're going to try and apply that in here, and I'm going to use that on the actual title, Don't Worry, Be Happy. So I'm going to take that out. This is in Illustrator. I'm going to put that in its own text box, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out as well, and I'm going to make it a bit more of a positive kind of. So I don't want worry to be. I don't want to do this, for example. I don't want to copy this. One way of doing it is to do this. Just make the text bigger. Okay, maybe make it a little bit, I don't know, choose a different font or whatever. That might be one way of doing it, okay? Let's keep it like that for the time being. That's one incarnation of one way of doing it. But what I want to do is try and make it a little bit more positive. So don't is quite a negative word. Worry is quite a negative word. I would like this to be a bit more of a positive kind of hierarchical bit of text. So in order to do that, I'm going to drop down the weight of this text, or the size of this text, down to maybe 12. And if you guys have got some suggestions, please feel free to put them in our chat here. I'm going to put this as a bit of a border. Okay, and what I might do there, and this is where we can start editing our text as well. I'm just doing this on the fly, but let's have a look. I'm going to outlines. I'm going to put "Don't worry" here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Drop that a little touch. Okay, and I'm going to change the font. Actually, I'll keep the font there because that's one of these other principles that he talks about. Okay, and then what I'm going to do finally, there's lots of different ways you can do this, and I'm not saying this is the right one, and you could probably critique this if you probably will be able to critique this, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just amend my type a little bit. So I've created some outlines on me. So this is editable text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just create outlines out of that text, so I can't edit that text anymore. And then what I'm going to do is bring this up in line with that. And maybe reduce this a little bit. This is just going off feeling. It's got nothing to do with any principles now. All I'm trying to do is create some visual hierarchy and trying to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to just move that up there in line with that Y. Might look nice, might not, but it looks a little bit more interesting than the first one, I think. So then I'm going to group that together, put that down there. Okay, and there's a bit of visual hierarchy for you. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm going to try, I'm not going to do exactly the same because you can't do that in Google Slides, but I'm going to try and do something. I'm going to play with visual hierarchy in Google Slides, and then we're going to move on to his next tip. Okay, and then we're going to use that to adapt this a little bit better. Okay, so let's go into Google Slides. This entitled document here, and this is the text that we're working with. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the "don't worry" bit. So I'm going to take that out, put it on a separate layer, or not a layer, but it's a separate text box. Sorry. Okay. And the good thing about Google Slides is you can change the format of the slide. And I'll just show you that if I can. Oh, actually, if you've got a document here, if you've got a doc page set up, you can change. This gives you a 16 by 9 kind of ratio screen, because this is Google Slides is set up as a presentation style document, on like a digital presentation style thing, like a bit like PowerPoint, but you can also use it to your advantage to create, say, an A4 page. So there's 21 centimeters by 29.7 centimeters is an A4, and there you go. So you can use this you can modify the way you use this. You can zoom in and out as well. How do I do that? There's too many. Oh, that's the other zoom. View, zoom, Control plus Alt plus. There we go. And here we go here. So what I'm going to do is move this up. It's also got some guidelines and snaps, as you can see, as they come out there. So it keeps everything nice and tidy. The don't worry bit, we're going to keep that to that size. We're going to boost this size up to maybe say 48. There's nice. It's a nice there. It's got its own text in here. So I'm going to go with this one. Okay, that looks like quite a nice happy font. So I'm going to go with that. It's called Lobster. I'm not too sure how you add fonts in there, but they do have a selection of fonts that you can play around with there. And then there's Don't Worry. So I'm going to put my Don't Worry bit in a bit of a similar position to the one in Illustrator. And then I'm going to leave it like that. Maybe drop the text down a touch. And we're going to go with that for now. It's not perfect. I know it's not. Nothing will ever be perfect. You can always tweak it, but we're going to stick with that version for now. Okay, the bit it's completely different. I'll copy that. Move that down there. Let's see if I can paste that in there. It's wrong. Copy that. Just going to paste that in there. So this is what it looked like before, didn't it? Okay, get that comma out. So you might have mixed opinions about the bottom one. I don't really like it, but I think it looks better than that. So that's where we need to be for the first development of this kind of visual hierarchy kind of tip. Okay, so let's move on to the next tip that he gives us. Okay, where is it now? Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Up here, I'll get rid of that one. Here we go. Right, so let's see what the next thing was. It was font pairing. Okay, and that's what we were just about to move into when we were playing around with in this. This is what we're just about to go into, where we change the font a bit. So let's see what the idea is behind font pairing.
You can see two fonts that look very similar, Volcorn and Robotoslab. Both of these fonts have serifs, and because of that, they look kind of similar, and that's uncomfortable. Instead, let's take a pair of fonts, one of which has serif, and the other one sans serif, or with no serifs. Also notice that they have a different weight. The top one is bold, and the bottom one is hairline. Or we can reverse it. Anyway, the key to finding the good pair of fonts is contrast. Even if you use the fonts from the same family, like Oswald, you can write one part of the copy using all caps and increase the tracking, or we can call it letter spacing. Do what it takes, but make sure that the font don't look too similar. And also try to not use too many fonts. There's a nice tool for pairing fonts called mixfont.com. There's the artificial intelligence based generator, which you can use to try to find these cool font combinations.
Okay, so let's have a look at that then, shall we? So font pairing, we're going to go straight into Illustrator here, and we're going to use I'm going to take a copy of this one. I'm going to drag it down. Now the font that we used for this here, I think it's exactly the same, but we just upscaled it, didn't we? Just increased the size. But what I would like to do for this new, to apply this new principle, is I want to do something with this font here. Okay, I want to change this font. But let's have a look at the suggestion that Alexandra gave us. It's called Mix Fonts, and this is a website, mixfont.com. And if you if you go to that website there, the link actually is on our here it is. The link is down here on our presentation. The presentation will be made available for you guys at the end of this session. All right, so that's the link. But if you just go to mixfonts.com, what it does, it'll show you different. If you want some inspiration on a combination of fonts, that'll do that for you here. Okay, so here on the website, you can just flick using the kind of refresh button to see the different style fonts, and it just picks them at random here. It's a nice one there paired with that, and it'll tell you that's the name of the font. You can lock, if you like that font for example, but you're not too keen on this one, you can lock that one by clicking on the font at the top and then start cycling the other font until you find something you might like. So this one here, then you could lock that. You can swap them around as well. Okay, and then down here it gives you some other examples of how they can be applied. Okay, so there's a calendar there. There's a bit of a digital oh, don't know what's happening here. A bit of a digital calculator. There's some suggestions in kind of a chat scenario, an online login here. So there's quite a few applications and uses for this. Okay, so we're going to try and do something similar. Okay, so I quite like this scrolly text, and I'm not going to use that because we probably have to download that, but I'm going to look for something in my library that is very similar. The reason why I like this is because I want to try and make this little piece that we're creating here, I want to try and make it positive, and the don't and worry was my my concern, and my kind of thought process was to take that and give it less of a weight in the hierarchy, and obviously with text hierarchy, having the two different fonts kind of emphasize that if you have contrast. But the don't worry thing is still too legible for me, and I want to dumb that down a little bit by making it softer, giving it a softer kind of appearance. So I'm going to look in here. I'm going to find something that's maybe a little bit less formal, a bit more like handwritten. So maybe something like that. So that then takes the emphasis of maybe the negative kind of connotations that kind of says kind of I was trying to get away from. Okay, but also we do have an issue with the two bits of text here at the top. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to apply that contrast here to the text pairing, differentiate the text pairing. Okay, so maybe I'll make this into more of a serif font. And remember last session, guys, we're talking about we did mention serif and sans serif fonts. The serif fonts are the ones with the more traditional looking ones with the tails and the bases on them. Okay, so that kind of differentiates and improves the hierarchy out in my mind. And for me, this word here and this bunch of text is competing with each other. That obviously stands out because it's bigger, but these two are competing, and by changing the font hierarchy here, changing the font pairing, it allows you to kind of differentiate there. Okay, so that's my thought process behind that. Now let's go to our Google Slides, and let's make a copy of this. To make a copy, you just select as you normally select. You draw a box around what you want to copy and hold down Shift and move that. Just move that out of the way. And then we're going to change this font here. We're going to give it maybe something like this. Increase the text a touch. And that italics works quite well with the italic of the other font below it. Just move it up a touch. Now it's not perfect, but I think it looks better. And then say with this here, we probably don't need to do anything with this now. So let's just leave it like that, okay? Here we've got our hierarchy. Our main message is to be happy, and the top bit is don't worry, because it's linked to that. Obviously you know that those two go together, and then you've got the lyric of the song underneath. Okay, so that's where we're going with that. Let's as you can see, I'm applying two different methods between Illustrator and Google Slides. One, because I'm limited within Google Slides, but two, I'm just coming up with a different idea as my thought process is thinking about the idea. Okay, so just change the title of this. Actually, we'll call this session 3 typography principles. And let's move to our next. We're not going to go through all the 10. We're just going to go through a few that I think are quite key, and I just would like to show you, hopefully demonstrate that how layout can be improved by applying these principles. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next one after Alexandra's talked a little bit more in detail about this mixed font resource that is available online, because you probably do a better job at it than me.
And you can press this button to refresh it. If you got stuck with finding the right typefaces for your project, give it a shot. It even shows, if you scroll down a bit, how these typefaces will look in different contexts. By all means, that's not a silver bullet, but if you struggle to find the right combination of fonts, it may give you a head start. Alright, the next thing to keep in mind is white space or negative space. Clumping design elements together like you see here is one of the most common typography mistakes. Design elements need some air to breathe. Separate the elements from each other by adding the empty or we say white space in between them. This negative space will also allow you to group the elements in a logical way based on their relationship or lack of relationship to each other. White space means not only the space between the objects, but also the margins outside the object. So if you can, stay away from the edges of the image.
Okay, so we've got visual hierarchy we've had a look at, parent fonts we've had a look at, and now we're looking at white space. So as Alexandra mentions, and I was quite keen to do this as I was tweaking my designs, but I tried to hold off not to do it, was to separate out your kind of your layout to help with that hierarchy and to help with that kind of readability of your text. So I'm going to create another copy, and there's our development at the minute. In fact, what I'll do, I'll just make this a little bit bigger, and hopefully you might be able to see a development. Okay, you might have different ways of doing it, and that's absolutely fine. You probably have even better ways of doing it than the way I would, but we're just applying these principles to try and demonstrate kind of the power of these and how the power of these ideas and how they can improve your text or affect your text at least. So I'm just going to quickly type in "don't worry" here. Because this is the very basic clump of text that we dealt with at the beginning. Okay. And that around about 2 o'clock, guys, we're going to have a little break. Just put a little line there to separate the different bits. And then after the break, we're going to try and do a few more of these principles. After the break, we're going to look at our Type Happy font that we were creating last week and the week before. And we're going to look at how we can apply a few more principles to that to improve that. Okay. Not these principles, some other basic fundamentals within font design. Okay, so this is the last bit. This is just a copy of the top one, and we're talking about white space now. This is what he's talking about there, isn't he? So tell you what I can do as well to help. I'm going to say original there. I'll make this available to download as well. You can have a play around it if you like. Just make this a little bit of a grey, and I'll just create this. I'm just creating this so it's a bit of a resource for you, just in case you want to see what we've been doing. So the first one was hierarchy. If you can hear any noise in the background, guys, it's just got builders going in at the minute. I'm doing some work on Diego's, our exciting new cafe / bar that will be opening at some point, and there might be some banging and some noise in the background. That's what that is. Hierarchy. How do I spell that again? Hierarchy. Spelling it right. Okay. So there's that. The other principle was font pairing, wasn't it? And then the last one that we did was oh, sorry, that wasn't font pairing. That's the original. That was hierarchy. That's font pairing. Visual hierarchy, font parent, white space. It's a third one. Okay, messed myself up a little bit here. I think those two are font parents. We'll keep those together. We've done two different variations there. That's what's going on there. And then we've got white space, which is this here. Okay, so what Alex Andrew is telling us here at the minute is give some of you help with your hierarchy. I think all for me anyway. It might be my interpretation, but everything all stems back to hierarchy, making the text stand out, what you want to stand out, and allowing the reader to navigate through what it is you're setting out for them. Okay, so don't worry, be happy is kind of your top bit, your main title if you like, and I'm going to just separate that out a little bit, just to, you said, give it a bit of space to breathe. Okay, could we do that in a different way maybe? Yes, let's have a look at doing this. Okay, so there's two different ways of doing it, and I was just thinking about if there's any other ways, and I'm sure there'd be lots and lots of different ways here that you can play around with it. I'll maybe do one more. Keep it all aligned, because alignment is the next principle that he talks about. So we're going to have a play around that in a minute. Maybe could I make that a bit more? Maybe there's a bit too much space there. And we could get a bit more creative with this by, let's have a look, see what else we've got here. Just have to do this very quickly. Maybe take this out, place that over here. Right, okay, so what I'm just playing around here now. I haven't got a clue really where I'm going with this, but I'm just playing around to see what I think might I'm going to play around with what I think will look quite good. So this is where it's your own kind of interpretation, your own creativity here. And obviously all of that is very subjective, but this is where you can let loose with your own ideas on things, and this kind of is the exciting part of graphic design in my eyes. It's not just about changing text and underlining text, it's about creating something that didn't exist before, and making something a bit more interesting, just using the way you process and see things. So for me, that H was crying out to be modified a bit more. So and I'm no professional graphic designer. It's just I'm just got creative ideas that I like to explore, you know. So that looks a little bit better. This looks a little bit left alone. So maybe I bit too much white space there. Maybe that needs to come up to the bottom of the B. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit too much. Maybe drop it down a bit more. But anyway, you can see where we're going with that. Maybe you can move the B a little bit more. But the the thing where we're going with this, and was what I was quite keen on developing at the very beginning, was the be happy bit. I wanted to create out of that message, don't worry, be happy. There's two kind of instructions to that message, and I wanted to have the emphasis on the be happy bit. So with this, I'm not entirely happy with it, obviously, because I would like to play around with it a bit more, but this is doing that for me more than it was right at the very beginning of the process. Okay, so just going to keep it like that for now, and that's just another idea. All right, you can have your own, absolutely, and see what you think. And that isn't really white space. Well, I guess it is, because I was messing about with the H as well. Drop that down a touch more to give it a bit more white space. And probably this again, I can't leave this alone now. As you start playing around with things, you start to see, just try and don't put too much pressure on yourself, but try and think about what it is you feel compelled to do. What doesn't quite look right. You might not know why it doesn't look right, but don't be scared to just have a play around. And this can be done on a sketch pad. That, you know, it's not all exclusive to computers. So what was kind of bugging me a little bit was that Y. I would like that Y to bring us down into the text a bit more. That's all I wanted to do there. Might bring that round a bit more. I'll probably bring that up a little bit more and move that there. And then I would start trying to make this a bit more curvy. But there you go. There's a different version. Okay, so I've wasted a bit, not wasted, but spent a bit of time on that. Let's go back to our Google Slides version. Make a copy of that. Okay, this was the original. I'll just quickly do the same thing here. Give that a bold. Put that. Change the font a bit. Color. And I'll centralize that. Right, and then we moved to talking about hierarchy. So I'm going to put hierarchy in there. And then we move down to parent, and those two, that's pairing there. And one thing that I've heard time and time again when I've done research, pairing, I've heard graphic designers refer to this time and time again, is don't use the same font, or try and stay away from the same font unless you've got a really good reason to. Okay, contrast is a really good way of kind of having one extreme and a different extreme, kind of really emphasizes and creates interest and intrigue. If you've got two of the same font, then what's the point of having the same font? You know, what's the point of changing that font? Okay, so contrast really adds a bit more interest into your design. We're talking about white space here, weren't we? So we'll just make a copy here, white space. And I know we were talking about font design here at the big for Crafty Type, and this is Crafty Type is all about font layout and typography at the end of the day, typography. So one key element to typography is the layout of text, and this is really key as well. You might have a really cool bit of text, bit of font, but if it's used in the wrong way, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's still not going to look that interesting. Just increase my page a little bit, give it 40. There we go. So we've got a bit more side, a bit more here. And then what I'll probably do is increase the text size here. So I'll put that be happy a bit bigger, maybe 60, maybe 80. And then I'll take that be don't worry, and I'll put that we talked about white space, weren't we? So let's maybe put that up a touch. And then we've got a bit of white space for the to separate that bit of text there to that bit of text there, so that works for me. Maybe just bring it down a touch. There you go. So there's our original, and there we see it just changing slightly as we go along. Right, let's have a look at one last tip from Alexandra before we break. We're going to break about, say, 10 past. We just want to get cover alignment before we break, and then we'll move on to something different after the break. Okay, so let's crack on with the next tip. This, by the way, obviously talks about 10 typography and design tips. This is available, the link is available in this presentation, so you can look through the rest as well at the end of the session when I upload the link, well, when I put the link in the description of today's session. So here's the next piece of advice when we look at alignment.
Alignment is the next typography rule. Without the proper alignment, elements just fall apart. For easy reading, make sure that your text is aligned in the proper way. That means that the elements are grouped according to their logical relationships, like all the social media links are grouped together in this example. The blocks have the white space in between them, and here all elements are aligned to the center of the image, or to some imaginary line that runs across the elements. We also can align elements to the left, or to the right, but no matter what we do, it's good to stay consistent throughout the design. One way to approach it is to draw an imaginary grid on top of all elements. Then you can align everything according to this grid and avoid the parts that penetrate the outer walls of the grid. Inside this space, again, it's good to be consistent. Say, let's align all the elements to the left, but at the same time we can align the title and the photo using the central line. And if the design blocks are repeated, we also repeat the same alignment rules. Yay for consistency.
There we go. So let's have a quick look at alignment then, eh? So let's go back into Illustrator. I'm going to make my artboard a little bit bigger. Okay, move this out of the way. Copy this. And we're talking about alignment now. Okay, so let's copy the last bit, the last incarnation of our "Don't Worry, Be Happy" lyric. And we're talking about alignment. Okay, so at the minute it's aligned, all of it is aligned to the left. What I'm going to do is okay, that like that. Just increase my artboard a little bit more. Copy this. So let's maybe put the "Be Happy" bit along here, and have it all aligned to the left. And drop that H down a bit more. Oh. And this is where we're starting to modify existing fonts, and this is a pretty cool part of design there. The H, and that doesn't do anything for me at the minute. That maybe we need some more white space. And this is where it's really cool just to come up with your own ideas and just don't be scared to make those changes. Well, we're talking about white space, and this is where the kind of the rules emerge a little bit, okay? Because we're getting into the nitty-gritty of this design at the top here. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm just going down this rabbit hole with this now. What I didn't like, I'm going to copy this for a minute, go back a bit, go forward a bit, go forward one more. Just want to show you something. Group that, move that over there. Right, so what I didn't like, I wanted to align it all to the left, and that's what I did. That's why I brought the B back there. I like the way the B leads you into the don't bit, but I like the way it leads you in to the happy bit as well, in comparison to that one. And you had this awkward bit of white space here, so I like that being aligned to the left, but I didn't like this. I thought this was awkward then. It's like just modifying things a little bit, and then there was no call for that H to go all the way up. So this is where the previous principle of white space comes into place. I thought there was quite a bit nice distribution of white space around here, but then it just gets lost there. So what I decided to do was bring the H down a little bit there, that stem of the H, bring that down, and this is where we're getting it now, a bit more into the type of graphical design or font design here. So what I'm doing now is trying to create that white space, that kind of gap, make it similar there. That's a little bit too tight, so I'm going to just bring that down a bit more to try and make that look a little bit better. Touch more maybe. It's looking a little bit better. I like that. So what I'm going to do, I always like to keep my mistakes, or not mistakes, but developments. So I'm going to keep that, move that back into there. So that is a bit more, that's left justified there in comparison to that one. Okay, so that's good in my mind. So let's have a look at a different way of aligning this. Take that over, make a copy. Okay, I'm going to put that as central alignment. And as Alexandra was mentioning before, it says it doesn't always have to be, you don't always have to have everything aligned in the same way, but you've got to make sure that the groups are follow a similar kind of rule, if you like. Okay, he also mentioned having a grid, so let's quickly set up a really quick grid. There is grids available as a view as well in Illustrator, but I'm not going to use that for now. I'm just going to draw a quick grid around here. There we go. Take me stroke down a touch. Okay. Oh. Take that down there. Make a copy. Rotate that around. Rotate. And let's say everything is aligned there. On that one. And that's there. I'm just doing this on the fly just so you can see. So I'll copy this grid, move that over there because that's more applicable to that one. I want this one to be centrally aligned. Move that up a bit. This is getting in the way now. Move that along. Right, okay. Let's centrally align this just to show you the different variation. Put that in the middle. I'm just guessing this now. You can obviously make them fit better. And we've got alignment tools in Illustrator as well. So actually what I'll do is I'll get rid of that. Right. Now that creates something quite interesting for me. And I'm going to quickly explain what I'm talking about. So I like that left alignment there. And I like the way the Y takes you into the start of the lyric there. So I'm going to keep that there like that. Okay, and I'm going to do one last one quickly, and then we'll move into our Google Slides version. What I'll do is I'll put that one back to left alignment, and I'll left align it there. That was just calling out for that for me. That stopped there, and it takes you nicely into that bit of text there. So that's my reason behind that. Okay. Obviously you can play around with it a bit more. I can't help myself. I'll do one more quickly. Because at the minute we've just got left alignment, and it's not really showing you much variation. So 2 minutes. Okay, let's just see what that does. Do anything interesting at all? Oh, that looks quite nice. I'm going to go with that. Right, so there's a right alignment instead of a central. The way the text kind of tucks around like that and gives you a little curve fits with the way we could develop this Y, so I think that's quite interesting. And both of those are opposing alignments, but you can see how they work well together. And then also Alexandra was talking about white space, wasn't he? And this is where the rules kind of intersect with each other, because the white space here is this could be quite tight up there, and it might be too much, but you'll find a nice happy medium by just playing around with it. And that's all about looking at the relationship between the light and dark bits there. I'm going to move that up a touch there, so that bit there is about the same. And you know, we can get really precise with these. I mean, what I quite like to do in Illustrator to make sure I've got things precise is if I want that thickness. I'm not the most precise person in the world by any stretch. I'll save this actually. Yeah, I'm not the most precise person in the world. People are a lot more precise, but if I want things to look right, I might use the rectangular tool there, make a copy of it, and use that as kind of a spacer, if you like, you know. So I'm going to move that up. I'm going to move that up. Make sure that hits that, and now I'll just put that in there, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll just there. That looks all right, doesn't it? And then I tell you what, now we've got a bit too much space over here. So what we'll do is take that over there to the end of that text, move that back in, and then that's me done. I'm going to have to call time out on myself because I get a bit carried away. And obviously we could do the same with the bottom there. Okay. Feel like a little child before I go, you know, when children go, oh, can I have 5 more minutes? 5 more minutes before I go to sleep, or before I get sent to bed, because I can't leave this design away alone now, because I'm getting quite into it. So as you can see, you don't need to have any real direction. You just need to consider some of these principles in order to kind of apply them, and then that kind of, well, that's what got my juices flowing with this. Okay, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to quickly do something not exactly the same, but do something similar with in our other document. I'll make me size of me slide a little bit bigger. Make that 50. Okay, I'll move this up a bit. And what was it? I've completely forgot what we're doing now. Got too into what we're talking about. Alignment, that was it. So copy this, make a copy. I'm going to reduce the size of that a bit. I'm going to reduce the size of the happy bit because it's a little bit too big. Put that down to 60. Drop that down there. Put that back up there. Alignment. So what about moving this over here? Right, I'm going to change the text style because I don't like the slant on this. Okay, be happy is a bit, yeah, let's go with that, be happy, that just for the time being. I like the fun element to that other bit of that font, but I didn't like the way that the italic kind of slant on it, and that kind of messed up with me me alignment that I was trying to do, play around with. So I'm just going to zoom out and have a look at this sheet. Move these up and fit that at the bottom. I'll do one other variation before we do actually have a break. Just make that a little bit bigger, 60. You can see it's not the most ideal because it's messing about with the kind of stretching out text a bit, but there you go, it's alright, it's not too bad. Gets across the idea. Um, so there's a bit of an alignment there. Both of them, or you've got right justified there. You've got but then it's left fits to the left there. Be happy is what the focus, because so I don't want that to be on the left hand side. I want that to stand out first, so that's fine. And you understand where I'm going with this, guys. It's about having kind of a reason. It's about having a reason for something, not just having something for something's sake. Okay. There's kind of a saying, isn't there? In order to was it something about breaking rules? In order to break rules, you need to know what the rules are. Okay. I don't know who said that, but I do believe that, because these two aren't justified. They're kind of opposing justifications, but it's getting across that message there. And maybe there's other ways to do that. I don't know, but that's what I'm going with for this one. And then I'll do I haven't done a center at the minute, so I'll do a center justification there for you. And what I will do is to move that up, move that down, and I'll group these. Group that, right click on there, you can group, and then I'll justify. So that group there has different justifications going on. But because they're in different groups, get rid of that. As Alexandra said, it's alright as long as we're being consistent with what we do, and there is consistency there. And I guess this is even more important if you're designing like a layout for a magazine or something like that, where if each kind of article has the same layout, that's where this becomes important, or brochure or something like that. So we're going to have, this is white, this isn't white space, this is alignment. And I've waffled on for quite some time now, guys, so we're going to have a little break in a minute. Give me 2 more minutes, I'll just finish this off. Group, I'm going to align that with that, and I think in Google Sheets you can right click. Yes, we do. Got an align function there, and we can centrally align that there. Okay, so that group and that is centrally aligned, but that still doesn't look right to me. So you can use the align feature if you like, but I'm not. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to break the rules once again. I'm going to move that over to there. Tell you what I probably need to do is ungroup that, centrally align the be happy. I see what's going on here. This isn't centrally aligned, so centrally align that, put that back to where it needs to be over here. Bob's your uncle. There you go, that looks alright. So as you can see, guys, if we go from the very top of our original piece, you can see the development. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other. Well, I am. I do think the last few are better than the top one, but you might not, and that's absolutely fine. But applying some of these principles, you can definitely see, as I'm talking out loud with my idea of what I'm trying to do, I am making moves to try and make that happen. Okay, and it does, in my opinion, look a little bit better than we started out. So we looked at the original, there we go. We've got hierarchy where we made some text stronger. And then we've got font pairing, trying different fonts with different contrast and fonts. Then we've got alignment and white space, and making sure that we're considering the space around our elements. Okay, and that's in Google Slides, and there's our last one there. Okay, I'll just move that up a touch for you. And then in our Illustrator, a very similar process as the original. Then we've had some hierarchy there, and then we've done some font pairing, and we've changed the font between that and that, because that font and that was the same, and then we changed it again, and then we start really getting into the nitty gritty of, oh well, this is a white space, we're trying to separate that text a little bit more, tried a different kind of, well, I guess this is alignment as well, but it's also white space. And then we start to play around with the font there, breaking that down, and you can really get into the nitty gritty of that in Illustrator. And then we looked at alignment here, where we've got right, left aligned there. You've got totally left aligned here with this little thing going on in the middle. Same alignment there, but then the actual passage is central. Both left justified there, and left and right justified there. Okay, and this is probably one of my favorite ones. Right, okay guys, I'm going to stop there because I've been waffling on for far too long. We'll have a 5-minute break. We'll have a 5-minute break. Actually, we'll have a 10-minute break. Come back at 3:30, and then we'll leave that for now. And I want to show you. Two cool little things that I've picked up this week. One, in developing our Type Happy font and tweaking it a little bit so it fits within some of the some other principles that is useful to consider. And then there's a really cool application of that pattern monster that I showed you at the beginning of the session. All right, so we'll come back at 3:30 and try and cram that in for the last half an hour. Okay, thanks very much, guys. I'll see you in a little while. See you in 10 minutes. Hi guys, you caught me. I couldn't leave this alone on our little 10-minute break. I'll start messing about. Before the break. I was thinking about bees for some reason because we isolated the bee by accident. So I looked at some bees here and I looked at different styles here, and I'm well and truly down this rabbit hole now. So we're gonna change the next half of this session. We're not going to look at the Type Happy font. We'll keep that till next week, okay? But this is what we're going to look at, and I'm having too much fun really with this one, so we're gonna stay with this, okay? So we're just gonna keep on racking through some of Alexandra's some of his design tips, and we're going to keep on modifying our little layout to kind of suit that, okay? Let me just talk you through my idea as we're developing this. So obviously, for some reason I wanted to put a bee in there because I thought it would look quite good. So I found a few different bees online, downloaded them, brought them into me layout, and all I'm doing now is just this was the first bee that I brought in. Well, it was similar to that one. Traced around it very quickly using the trace facility in Illustrator, and then I found a better one, and I think this works better because you've got like these kind of flourish here on the corner. It sits nicely on the H, and then it kind of matches this Y. Now would obviously need to do a bit more work to this Y to keep that going a bit more, like keep that as curvy. Maybe we could draw that again. I'm not going to, but that's where my attention is kind of looking at now. Here it's a bit too blocky, but that's fine. And then I like the way this sits now because it kind of mimics the kind of flourishes on, and that's what these are here. These little like kind of extensions called flourishes kind of mimics the extensions on there. So that's where the whole design element comes from. Everything is done there for a reason, and if it's not in there for a reason, it really shouldn't be there. Famous designer once said, "Less is more," and I do stand by that. And I think if you use that idea, less is more, in your design practices, I might have a lot going on here, and I might need to strip that back, but everything has got a reason here, okay? And that's where you need to be going with your designs. You need to make sure that whether you're designing, I don't know, whether you're designing a bit of furniture or if you're designing some artwork or a layout, make sure that you've thought about every piece that's going into it. So we've looked at alignment, we've looked at white space, font pairing, hierarchy, okay? Let's see what Alexandra's got in store for us next, shall we? There's that B there, and missed out the yellow stripes, but I think that would look good if we put those back in, which might lead us quite nicely onto his next suggestion. Let's see what he's got to say.
The point of great typography is to make the text readable, not only fancy. Nobody wants to stare at gobbledygook. To make the text readable, make sure that it has enough contrast with the background, that it has appropriate space between characters or tracking, sufficient size, that's important, and white space around it. And finally, the fonts without bells and whistles are easier to read, so fight for readability in every way possible. If you want to take your typography to the next level, learn the basics of color theory. Fortunately, there are many tools and websites that will help you with the basics of color theory. Color.adobe.com, for example. There you can just choose a color rule, monochromatic, triad, complementary, compound shades, and so on. And then you just click and drag these circles to set the root color, and Adobe helps you to set up the color harmony. So you can pick the sandy color, and this website will build the perfect complementary contrast. Then you can apply this set of colors to your design. Or maybe you'd like to try something else, the compound color rule, for example. Definitely, that's a very interesting way to learn this. Kind of a learn by example thing. And voila, this is the compound color harmony applied to your typography. The Okay, fantastic. One more resource that I'm dying to share with you is Color Hunt. Actually, it's colorhunt.co. Here we have a bunch of ready-to-use color schemes created by the community. You can switch to popular or random, just scrub down and pick whatever you like. And after you selected something from this list, you can see the hex codes for the individual colors. These hex codes are used to describe the color and use it later on in GIMP, Krita, Photoshop or whatever. Oh, I love these colors actually. My favorite shrimpy color. So we have already been talking about contrast for quite a while. It makes...
Okay then guys, so he's talking about color next, and that kind of led us on from quite nicely from the little stripes within that B. So let's have a play around with a bit of color now. I'm going to use one of the resources that he recommended, and that was called what was it called again? Let's have a quick... No, it wasn't that. It was on here, and it was colorhunt.co. Okay, now color hunt, from the way I see it at the minute, is it's a load of different artists and collaborators coming together to create their own color palettes, if you like, and you can just scroll through all these different ones here to try and see what you see, something that stands out to you. Okay, I love this at the minute, so I'm gonna keep an eye out on that one for a minute, and then you can use this for lots for your inspiration, really, can't you? You can use this for inspiration of what colors go together. Now, he did mention about color harmonies, color theory, and I don't really know much about color theory. I just know what I like. Okay, and that's all I'm using for my basis at the minute. Really like that one as well. So I'm going to go with that one. And there was one up here I really liked as well, wasn't that? That one. I prefer this one now. So we're going to go with this one down here. Oh, this one's kind of took me attention a bit more. Let's go with that one. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. These are the different colors in this swatch. So what we have here is we have different we have 4 different colors and different ways that these colors are referenced. Okay, if you went B&Q, for example, to get paint mixed up, paint is mixed up. Paint comes in different kind of mixtures. So for example, RGB stands for red, green and blue, and there's 247 parts of red in that mixture, in this yellow mixture. There's 253 parts of green in that mixture, and then there's 4 parts blue to make that color. Okay, and that's all that refers to there. Okay, and this is what they refer to as a hex code, which is like kind of that's just a code that refers to that color as well. So there's 2 different ways of getting to that color, and we're going to look at this color and apply this color scheme to our to our layout here. So I'm going to get rid of these little spacer bars here. I'm just going to delete those, zoom in a bit. I really like the black and white version of that, and always when I design things I always start with a black and white, because I don't want to have too many things to worry about and think about. And I think this whole process kind of demonstrates just looking at one element at a time, especially when you're learning graphic design, when you learn typography and layout. Apply one thing at a time, and as you start to go through, you'll start to tweak it and you'll start to understand that, or see what you like and what you don't like about certain things. And by going through that process, then you can start, you know that yes, I've thought about alignment, and I'm happy with that. You move on to the next thing, right? Let's look at color, or white space. Yes, I'm happy with the white space there. So you don't need to, it's more methodical. That's the way I work anyway. So I always start black and white, and then I apply my color once it's got the kind of layout looking the way I want it to look. Now, we're looking at this color hunt website here, this is the kind of colour scheme I like, and these are the colours. So this light yellow here, oh, that's great as well. I've never used this website before until today. All you do is click on the colour there, the X reference, hex reference, and it copies it for you. You go on Illustrator now. What I'll do is I'll create just some little colours here. I'll create some little square circles, which will have our colour palette on. There's 4 colours, so there's the 4 circles, and I'm going to apply. Take the outliner off there. Looks like I feel a bit fancy today. Bring that up there, and then if we double click on the colour, there's a hex reference there. If I press Control and V to paste that in, it should. There's the yellow. Okay, there's the yellow there, and that's it. Yellow changed. Okay, I'm just going to check my document setup and make sure it's set up the right way. Set it to RGB, red, green and blue, and that's for digital viewing, okay, instead of printing. CNYK is for printing. So there's the yellow there. That yellow looks a little bit different to the yellow that I've got there, but let's not get too worried about that. Copy that. So I've copied the next one. Go into here, double click into that, paste that in there. There's the orange. Copy this, a little bit darker orange. Paste that into there. And we don't need to use all of these colours. This is just like the suggestion, and I like the way that they work together. Let's copy that. Take it back in Illustrator. Paste that into there. Okay, so there's our colour palette. Okay, right. Let's have a little go with this and see what we can do. So hierarchy, remember, is quite key to our, what was the first principle that we looked at, okay? So if I immediately colour this in orange, it's going to stand out because everything else is black. Can I change? Ungroup that. Let's see if I but this is where you need to kind of see what effects that you're doing to each bit, because this is a light text here. It's pointless, say, putting this text here to this yellow here, because it doesn't it's quite difficult to read. So you might want to reverse those around. So we might want to put, because this is bigger text, we might want to put that as maybe the darker yellow, and maybe put this "don't worry" as the orange. That stands out a bit. But if we really squint at the page, the happy does stand out a bit more than that. Or could we have both of them the same? Would that work? Works alright. Could you have this text here as the next one down? Or do we go a bit darker? And again, all this is just trial and error. This black stands out quite a lot now, so maybe to bring it all together, could we make that orange like that maybe? Right, and then that stands out even more. See, this is why I think it's very important to start with your black, because this is now jumping out more than anything else. So then do we apply the lighter yellow to that, or do we just tone that orange down to that? Or do we make this even smaller? And that's why I think it's really important to just start with your basics, start with your hierarchy, get your form right, get everything looking the way you want it to look, in terms of its spacing, its alignment, because once you start boxing those off, then you can have that comfort. You can always return back to it and change it, but once you start boxing those off, you have a slight confidence, or have a confidence that you've got it roughly the way you want it, and then you can start applying the color. Whereas if you start applying color straight away, you've got so many plates to spin, it might not work the way you want it to work, or it might be overwhelming. You might tweak one thing, but then it just doesn't look right, so you start changing things. But at least if you've got roughly where you want it to be, you can and then add the color. Then you can start making tweaks instead of making major changes with loads of different elements. Now, I like the color scheme of this one, which we see here, but I don't like what's going on with that at the minute. I think it looks a little bit tacky. So what am I going to do with this then? What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take the whole lot out of this box. I'm going to make this box a box instead of having the guidelines on there now, and I'm going to make it orange. Remove those lines now because they serve their purpose. I'm going to put that there instead, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reverse things around a bit, see what happens. Tacky, that's a funny word. It's got that. I don't know why that's in my head, but I want to know what tacky means. Define tacky. I know what tacky means, but I want to see what it says. Not having or exhibiting good taste, cheap, showiness, gaudy, tacky. Oh, there you go. Didn't realise I was that much of a snob. Okay, so I'm going to change that to white, and I'll bring this in front of. That's looking a bit better. Put that back the way it was though. Put that to white as well. I'll put that to white. Select the lot. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Group that. Put that on top. That looks a little bit better than that, I think. Quite happy with that. Right, let's bring this down here again. I'm going to put that white to start off with and bring that to the front. Right, let's see what we can do here then. Should I change the B to a light orange, a light yellow? Is that going to do anything nice to that? Looks alright. So there we're just using that and that colour. And the white obviously. So there's two different variations there. And then we can continue playing around with that, can't we? Going to have a look at one more colour scheme, a little bit more of a contrasting colour scheme than this one. And this is where, you know, designers, you can see how many I've done here. I've done how many versions of this in an hour. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different variations of this. Okay, designers working on big projects might have hundreds and hundreds of different variations. And that's why you've got not be too precious, really. Just see what works, move on to the next thing. Okay, let's find one more color scheme. One like nice joyful one. Let's go with that one. There's a bit more contrast going on. Let's go with this. We'll have a bit of purple and pink going. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back into Illustrator, and then I'll apply some color to our variations in slides, Google Slides as well, because there's something which I want to show you in Google Slides. It's pretty cool. I only discovered it last week when it comes to colors. So I'm going to change. Let's have a look. Oh, made a little bit of a mistake there. Right, so let's go back to here. I'm going to copy that. I think I've already done it, but I'll do it again. Go back in Illustrator and change that to this purple. And then we've got the other purple. It's like a pink colour. Copy that. Bring that in. Computer's running a little bit slow now. And I'm going to leave the other colours because they're very similar. Alright, so I want to do two variations of that with the white coming back to the... Do I want to do that? No, I don't. Forget that for a minute. Let's have a look. So maybe I do want the white. Do I? I'm too sure. Let's try that. Is that too much? Probably, but if there's too much going on here, but if I take all that and give it the same, what's that looking like? Maybe I need to darken this. Looking alright. Let's try this version. And we could probably do another whole session on colour. So really, this is just playing at the minute. Not hitting the nail on the head, but as you can see, we just have to make more and more adjustments and more different variations, I guess, to see it until we get it right. I'm going to do one more version of this. I'm getting rid of this because I don't like it. I think this is alright. I think that's alright, but it's just not hitting the nail on the head. Let's see what the pink does. No, definitely not. Maybe that needs to be white. I don't know. And maybe that could be a different color. Not too sure with this one. But anyway, as you can see, we've got some good resources there. Maybe we need to look for something that has a nice kind of pastel-y colour at the back, and then say something like that, for example. Something like that. Where that is the background. So copy that. Let's put that in there. That's that one. Copy that one. Put that in there. Just going to do a completely different color palette, and then we're going to move on to the Google Slides one. Probably going to go over just by a little bit because I couldn't help myself today's session, but that's all right. I guess that's what being creative is all about, and getting in and amongst your design and enjoying what you're doing. And today's session has been really cool, enjoyable session. So put these last few colors into this palette here. A light blue, and then we have a dark blue there. Let's put that in, see what that comes out with. And there's a really cool feature in here. I won't have time to show you it now in Illustrator, where it's got its own color palette type, edit colors, and there's like different palettes that you can create in here. I'm not too fully familiar with it, so I can't teach you it at the minute, but I have used it once or twice, and it's all right. It's quite good actually, but I'm not fully proficient in it. Right, let's have a look at changing that to that. Right, that's getting where we need to be, I think. I like that combination, even though we don't have that purple in there. Let's just copy that, bring that over there a minute. Let's make the text stand out. Oh. Save me work because I haven't saved in a while. Get that in there. Is that gonna do anything nice? And then let's take this happy. Let's see what happens if we make it blue. Doesn't go very well. Maybe we'll just keep it like that. Anyway, you get the picture. Still not like hitting the nail on the head that well, but as you can see, we're definitely developing this from our very start, from that there to having this kind of design going on at the bottom. I think we're diluting this a little bit more, but it's really good. This is really good if you're designing a layout, to apply these kind of approaches, because you can show your client your development of your idea, and you know, you could show them your actual show them the route that you're going down, your creative process, and they might pick something out, or your colleague might pick something out that you haven't seen. So it's all good. Don't think that you need to go from A to Z straight away. You're going to go A to Z, back to A again, back to Q, and you're going to jump all the way all over the place. But if you try and keep a process going, you're moving in the right direction. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. I'm not happy with these at all. I don't think they've moved that on at all. So what I would probably do as a process myself is I would just move them out and think, right, well, that's not working. What do I need to do to make that a little bit better? One thing that I have seen, which is done quite nicely, is just maybe changing the opacity. You might do something with it. You drop that down to say 70%, maybe a touch more, 40. That might create more of a interesting palette going on there. And as you can see, I can't leave this alone now. But there you go. You get the idea. That looks alright. Still not where it needs to be though. So save that. That's that done for today. For the illustrating bit, what I'm going to do is quickly show you something in Google Slides, which I think is really useful. They have this thing here when we're applying color, which is it's a little bit smaller. It's a bit smaller. Probably need to make me just move this over here a bit. Touch just right. So what Google have in their color section here is they have this in the custom, right, and here these are the they have color themes. Okay, and you can choose color themes here. And I don't know if I might pick a color theme. Right, let's pick a color theme. Let's pick black text as a background. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. These are different color themes within. No, we're not. I'm talking rubbish. Let's try that one. This is not showing what I wanted to show you. Let's close that, close that. Let's go text color, custom. Current theme. Let's go with that. Let's choose that color. And I might have to show you this later on next week, guys, because what I was expecting to see, and I was on a different computer when I'd done this, was it give you some suggestions of some color themes, which I thought was really useful. Pick a color theme above to begin editing, so I'll pick that one. Okay, and we'll go here. That's great. By the looks of things, it's asking us to change our theme here. I don't know if it's right, but anyway, simple lights. I can't figure that out, and I'm gonna have to because we've run over, I'm gonna have to go and do a bit of research and come back to you. But what we can do is we can go into our color palette here, for example, and then you could, that didn't really work, but if you go back to color hunt and maybe choose a different palette, which I'm not going to go through the process all over again, but you could choose a palette here. Let's say that one. It's a nice summery one. Nice, makes me think about the seaside, this one. Here are the color references that you should be able to put into, and that's copied that there. You should be able to bring in to into Google. And to do that, you would click your custom color there, and there's your hex color. If you right click on there and paste, yeah, oh, that's the wrong reference, but if you go into here, that's your hex color there. Click that, paste that in there. It's going to find your hex color, press enter. Paste that in there. Maybe it wants the there we go. So you need to put the hashtag in there. There's your color there. Okay, so that's how we do that. And then you just, again, a bit similar to what you were doing in Illustrator. You just pick the colors that you wanted. So there's that color there. I'm gonna go with that yellow. So go back in Google Slides, take that text there, paste in the color there, right click, paste that in there, click OK, and nothing's happened. Fantastic. Click that, put my hashtag in, put my color in, there's a color, click OK, and there we go. And then the last bit of color we'll add is this nice red here. Click that to copy it, go into here, select the text, add new color, right click and paste. There's the hex color, click OK, and there we go. There's a variation with that color scheme in place there. And then obviously if you wanted to add a shape around it, you can very simply by just adding a shape like we have in our in Illustrator. Just make sure that's transparent and it's got like a shape around it. I'm not saying this is great, I'm not happy with this at all. I probably prefer the black and white version, but you can see how complicated adding color to your designs is. And maybe I'm not the best person to show you because maybe that's not my strength. Probably isn't looking at my the way I've been looking at the colors here. But you can see by going through a very simple process from start to finish, by looking at hierarchy, by looking at font parent, by looking at the white space, the space around the text, and I haven't even got into increasing the space in between the lines here, increasing the the space around the actual words themselves. There's absolute minefields with all the different settings and things that you can control. By going through this process first, you get the layout in a roughly the way that you want it to look before you start applying color. Now this is a way I probably would do it. Maybe because I'm not very good with color and I want to keep that to last because it takes a bit more time, and I don't want to have to worry about it at the beginning. You might want to do it a different way, but you can see how this layout changes as you apply those different principles. So that's where we are today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Sorry for waffling on. I've got really involved in this one. I really enjoyed it today. So what I'll do is I'll make sure this is available. I'll just get rid of this for a minute. Make sure the that link is available for you to explore in a little bit more detail what Alexandra is suggesting, and maybe go through the other tips that he hints at. I'll just add colour to this because that's what we've done today. Have a play around with colour, guys, see what you think. Colour probably isn't my strong point, and it has took me a while to get into that one today, but you have a play around, you might have better success with looking at applying colours and different ways of dealing with those principles. What I've done there is one way of doing it, but it's not by all means. There's probably infinite possibilities. Okay, but I'll make all these documents that we've been working on today. I'll make them available for you in that description. Please go to our survey here and complete our survey, guys. That'd be really useful for us to see how you've enjoyed today's session. I've left a few links to some of the basics that I referred to in the last session, session number 2. There's some other cool little things that I'll keep in there for you, just so you've got as a reference how to create your own fonts. That was what we looked at last week. This is more about the layout today, and how we play around with the layout and how we some of the principles within that. What am I going to do next week? Next week we will look at our Type Happy font. Okay, this is it here, and I'm in the process of kind of tweaking it slightly, and this is just a little taster of what you can expect next week. So at the minute we've got this before, okay, and as you can see, the P, for example, doesn't sit on the baseline. The P's don't sit on the baseline. The under bit here of the Y, and that's a technical term. I'm not sure what the actual term is, but the Y doesn't sit on the baseline. The E sits nicely. This is all over the place. So what I'm trying to do with the lowercase version of Type Happy, which we've been developing throughout the whole series, I'm trying to make the glyphs or the letters with the tails. I'm going to try and make them sit nicer on the baseline. I'm going to try and increase the size of the uppercase glyphs so they're all the same size, or roughly the same size, so that looks a little bit more pleasing when you're reading it. Okay, and I'm going to do a comparison of before and after. At the minute, these are both the same, but that's what I'm going to do next week, and I'm going to talk through my process there. If you've got any comments about today's session, if there's anything that I've missed or anything that you want me to look at, give it a shout, give me an email, or yeah, that's the best way of contacting us. Give me an email, and I'll try and include that in the next session. It's session 3, so session 4 is next week, and that's what we're going to look forward to in session 4. And I'll see what other gems of research I can gather in order to help us better understand typography and how we can improve our designs. Okay, so until next time, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much for engaging with our training today, and I'll see you next Thursday for Crafty Types session 4. Okay, thank you very much and have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.